It's a weapon that's not designed to kill soldiers. It's designed to destroy cities or take out critical infrastructure.
What could happen if there was a nuclear attack? Nearly 70% of Americans surveyed by the American Psychological Association said they worry that an invasion in Ukraine could potentially lead to nuclear war. And they fear that we could be at the beginning of World War III. We're going to do a two-part video series in regards to what happens if there is a nuclear attack. We're going to watch a video by CNBC that's going to give us details in regards to this. But before we get started, make sure you subscribe to the channel. My name is Andre, and this is America, we really need to talk. Let's get started. Now, researchers have estimated there are over 12,700 nuclear weapons separated between 9 countries. We're going to hear from experts that are going to give us details in regards to what would happen if there was a nuclear attack. What would be the fallout? We're going to do this video in 2 parts. So you're going to see part 1 today that's going to give you great information. So watch until the end. And we're going to do the part 2 for this tomorrow. This is how important this video actually is for us to see.
The prospect of nuclear conflict, once unthinkable, is now back within the realm of possibility.
A single modern nuclear weapon hitting in a major American city would be many times worse than the Hiroshima or Nagasaki. It would be a historic destruction of unbelievable proportions.
69% of Americans surveyed said they are worried the invasion of Ukraine could lead to nuclear war, and they fear that we could be at the beginning stages of World War III.
Let me hear what you have to say in the comment section at the end of this video. Do you feel like we're on the brink of World War III? I know we have a lot of things personally that we need to focus on with our families and our homes right now. We're dealing with high costs in regards to inflation with gasoline and dealing with high food prices. And at the same time, looming in the background is nuclear war.
But the Biden administration is assuring Americans the threat isn't critical.
We are assessing President Putin's directive, and at this time we see no reason to change our own alert levels.
Even before the invasion of Ukraine, over the past few years, the norms and the agreements that kind of put guardrails on nuclear weapons have really eroded.
So when it comes to the policies and the sanctions and the rules that all these 9 countries, many of these countries, at least some of these 9, had laid down, those rules and policies that protect us as American citizens, well, they've eroded. They're no longer the norm. The rules have been changed. Everybody's doing basically what they want to do when it comes to nuclear weapons. And so at the end of the day, all we can do is hope that our governments are realizing that it is not a plus to launch at anyone, least long having anybody launching at us.
It's a weapon that's not designed to kill soldiers. It's designed to destroy cities or take out critical infrastructure.
If you are an activist.
And that's an excellent point that she just made. These bombs aren't made for not one soldier, not one individual that's over there fighting and protecting the United States, not one individual that's here fighting to protect the United States. It's not made for even the militia. It's not made for the Coast Guard. It's not made for the Marines, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force. These weapons are made to take out one objective and one group of individuals, and that is us.
That cares about climate change or reproductive health care or government spending. Like, you should care about nuclear weapons.
As long as these weapons are around, the possibility will always be there that they will actually be used.
So while a nuclear attack is very unlikely, here's how it would hypothetically look and how the U.S. could respond.
And she said a nuclear attack is very unlikely. And this is true. But yet, if we ask the people of Hiroshima and Nagasaki during that time period, if we could interview any of those, if they were still alive, they'd let us know that they thought that it was unlikely that an atomic bomb would come from one part of the world and land right in their backyards. So to sit back and say or think with the mindset of impossibility, the way that the world is looking right now, 5 wars in the last 15 years in certain areas, Well, it doesn't look far-fetched, and it doesn't look far-fetched that we're on the brink of World War III. We've got China coming against Taiwan. We've got the Palestinians who are trying to protect their land in the Gaza Strip against Israel. We've got the other individuals such as Hamas and Islamic groups that are trying to come to American soil to attack. You've got Ukraine and Russia going back and forth. If that's not the making of a world war, and they're pulling the United States into it, just like during World War II and World War I, even though it's not on our home soil. And what did they do during World War II? They attacked Pearl Harbor, pulling us into a war that we never asked to be a part of. And it could be the same thing right now.
Researchers estimate that there are approximately 12,700 nuclear weapons around the world, spread across 9 different countries: the United States, Russia, France, China, the United Kingdom, Pakistan, India, Israel, and North Korea. The U.S. and Russia hold the majority. As of 2022,
notice, even though we often brag about how strong our military might is, and it is great, at the same time, when it comes to nuclear might, we don't have as many weapons as Russia has. We are far behind them when it comes to the amount that they're producing on a regular basis compared to the amount that we're producing.
The U.S. has more than 5,400 nuclear weapons, while Russia has close to 6,000.
The total explosive power of all the nuclear weapons today is so large that if you took a Hiroshima bomb and dropped it every 2 hours, 12 times a day, every day, starting in 1945 on August 6th, up till today, you still couldn't use up our current arsenal.
Don't let that ride by. One bomb every 2 hours, 12 times a day. And you dropped it every day since 1945, since the day that the first atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima. We still not use up all the weapons that we have right now. That 12,700 would not be used if they dropped it every day since that time period in 1947, 12 times a day. That's how catastrophic and how we can destroy this, not only cities, but we can literally destroy our own planet, to where our planet will not be like it is now. It will almost be as if we will become fossils like the dinosaurs.
Even the use of one single nuclear weapon would already have devastating humanitarian consequences.
Researchers, academics, and advocacy groups have written reports detailing what a hypothetical attack could look like.
There would be blast, there would be radioactivity, and there would be fires. And those would be horrific and horrible direct effects on the people where the bombs would be dropped.
In 2014, the Dutch peace organization PAX put together a report examining what would happen if a nuclear bomb exploded in a cargo ship in the port of Rotterdam in the Netherlands, where PAX is based. Susie Snyder was one of the authors of that report.
And we took it at the least impactful way it could explode, which is at the ground level. It's not dropped from the air. So it minimizes fallout, it minimizes blast.
8,000 people dying immediately who would find themselves within 1 kilometer of distance, others suffering from severe burns and other injuries. And then there's, of course, the radiation, which over the course of a few days would result in the deaths of another estimated 60,000 people. And double that amount would maybe survive, but it would have lasting health consequences.
Actually, there's a website, and I would have put the link in the description of the video, but it is so traumatic. This website lets you see the results of, you put in any city, and you can see what the results will be of a blast in a particular city. And it gives you the 4 major missiles that are used around the world. Russia has the largest, most powerful missile right now, even though the United States right now are in the development. We're in the development of what is considered the B-61/13 bomb, which will be larger and more powerful than the one that Russia even has right now. So I put in the simulator, and it does a simulation of a particular city. So I put in my city. I don't want to put in anybody else's city. So I put in Tampa, Florida, just to see. And it was so sad that over by the college, 20,000 people wiped away immediately. Another 20,000 people are injured. That doesn't include the fallout of nuclear, of radiation and of fires and of smoke. And we're not talking about the afterblast. I put in the Russians' largest missile in the same area of Tampa. And it wiped out everything from Tampa to Winter Haven. Winter Haven is the other side of Orlando, Florida. Anybody that lives in the Florida area knows how large Tampa, gone. St. Petersburg, gone. Clearwater, gone. Lakeland, gone. Bradenton, gone. Spring Hill, gone. All the way down to Champions Gate, which is halfway down I-4 to heading towards Orlando, gone. The city of Orlando, gone. Disney, gone. All the way to the other side of Orlando where it slowed down in Winter Haven. This is how traumatic and how sad these scenarios are. Like I said, I would have put the link in the description so you can actually test out your city, but I don't want the wrong individuals to take advantage of looking at this. But I did get a chance to sit back in my seat and look at what will happen in my own city if our governments don't do something about this.
Location can significantly change how destructive an explosion is.
So you have an explosion on Wall Street. You're going to have blast damage, probably into the Lower East Side, into the East Village, that far away. And you're going to have fire damage, maybe Upper East Side, maybe even up to Harlem. And that's in New York, where the design and the buildings of New York actually contain things in a great way. If it's a smaller city, a lower city, a city that's more spread out, when we did our study around Rotterdam does not have a lot of skyscrapers, so the blast damage and the impact of the firestorm is much greater.
If something like that happens, no adequate medical response would be possible. There's a high number of deaths, the destruction of infrastructure, and then, of course, because of the radiation, medical personnel would not be able to come close and attend to those in need.
The plans.
Now realize what she just stated. Because of this blast or explosion, there will be no medical, none, no doctor, no nurse, no surgeon could come near you because of the radiation. It's basically us living in zombie land and us literally who are survivors fending for ourselves. But it even gets worse.
I've seen in the US, the FEMA plans are you isolate the center, the very center of the explosion. You don't allow emergency services in there, and that's just it. You hope people can help each other, pull each other out of rubble, and you triage around that, where you can have more services in broader concentric circles the further out. But because that fireball also sets everything on fire and goes out from there, a firestorm might erupt.
If Putin feels that his efforts are stalled, there's the possibility of a desperation move. He could use a nuclear weapon in a demonstration strike outside in a rural area or even at sea, just to say, look, I've got these weapons and I could use them. I personally think that's not that likely, because that to me would signal irresolution. What's more likely is that he could use a nuclear weapon on a Ukrainian target, use it on a city, and then demand that the Ukraine government has unconditional surrender. That's what we did in 1945 at Hiroshima.
Absolutely. Instead of just firing, Japan is surrounded by water. Instead of just firing near Japan and letting them see the results of nuclear weapons, we decided to not go for soldiers. We decided to focus on innocent individuals that were just living their everyday lives that had nothing to do with the war games that were taking place. And it's the same thing that Russia could do to Ukraine. This is getting sadder and sadder. And if you don't think that we're getting closer to World War III, we really are. Now, I want to pause for a second in regards to, I am not fear-mongering. I know some people like to keep their heads in the sand and just deal with inflation and deal with taxation and just deal with everyday life of politics while we barbecue. And I'm with you. And I wish that life was still like that. But those days since the pandemic took place, we have to be rationalists because we were the same ones that believed that the world could not be shut down, and yet they shut it down, didn't they? So what we sit back and believe that certain things can't take place, well, statistics show that 70% of Americans actually believe that it can take place.
Beyond the immediate catastrophe, a nuclear attack would have a serious long-term impact on the planet. A 2014 report from the International Campaign to Abolish Nuclear Weapons concluded that a nuclear blast anywhere could lead to the collapse of public services infrastructures, which would disrupt the entire economy, including communication networks and food supplies.
If there was a nuclear war, bombs would be dropped on cities and industrial areas, which would burn, and the fires would produce smoke, which would be pumped up into the atmosphere, and a lot of it would get up into the stratosphere where there's no rain to wash it out. And so the amount of climate change we would get would depend on how much smoke there would be. Once our food supplies ran out, if we couldn't grow any more food, there would be famine. And so many more people could die in the rest of the world. For example, if there was a war between the US and Russia, more people in China could die from starvation than in the US and Russia combined.
We're going to stop right there for today, and tomorrow we'll continue on with the part 2 of this video. What if there was a nuclear attack? I want to hear what you have to say about this in the comments section. Many of you watch us, so make sure you subscribe because we're going to keep you up to date on what's going on in Gaza, what's going on U.S. soil, as the FBI has given out warnings already to us over the last few weeks. I want to hear what you all have to say in the comments section. I'm on my way there. I'll meet you there. Once again, this is Andre, and you're watching America We Need to Talk.